welcome to Pam Talks. I'm your host, Pam. In case that wasn't clear, it is a Pam Talk. Pam Talks are a brand new segment that I am bringing to my YouTube channel where I, Pam, talk about everything and anything. Just for a little bit, random topics, anything from news, or we might go into something like hiking. Whatever I feel like, whatever you guys want me to talk about, you'll see it here. Today, we are going to talk about a subcategory of one of my favorite categories, food. If you've seen me live on Twitch or have hung out with me in one of my Discords, you know that I love food and I talk about food a lot. It's just so good. And there's so many different kinds of food. It is a great conversation starter. Life pro tip from Pam: if you ever find yourself in a weird conversation or awkward silence and you feel the urge to break that silence, ask about food. What'd you have for breakfast? What'd you have for lunch? Oh, I went here for this restaurant, this meal, and it was delicious. Or it wasn't so good. But talk about food. Everyone eats it. Everyone has to eat food. Unless you're some weird being that I don't know about. But everyone, animals, humans, plants, everyone needs food. And in the subcategory of food, there's so many different ethnicities of food. And I feel that's one thing I love about living in America. You can have like every type of food imaginable just by driving down the street. There's like 5 different kinds of food. There's Mexican food, Italian food, Lebanese food, Chinese food. And what we're talking about today is chow mein, which is usually Chinese. I guess there's probably other Asian varieties of chow mein, but we're specifically talking about Chinese chow mein and lo mein. I recently moved to Oregon this week, and it's my first week here. I didn't even have groceries, so I ate a lot of takeout. One of the places I went was a Chinese restaurant. I found out that there is a Chinatown in Portland. I didn't know that. Did you know that? I sure didn't. But found a Chinese restaurant, and when I was there, of course, I had to order chow mein. The leftovers ended up lasting me for like 3 days, and it was awesome and delicious every time. The chow mein was so good. So, with chow mein, well, noodle dishes in general, there's kind of 2 varieties you can usually find at a Chinese restaurant. Which they have kind of depends. Sometimes they have both. Sometimes they only have one. Just depends on where you go. Usually you have chow mein and lo mein. Lo mein is the thicker noodles. They're a little bit slimier, kind of slippery, and just I think they tend to be more flavorful because they can like absorb the flavor a little more, but they do kind of have a little bit more slimy feel to it. The other kind is chow mein, and that's the thinner noodles. They're kind of like ramen noodles where they're hard and crispy before you cook them. If you go and get them at the store, you'll see what I mean with that. I don't know if that's how they're made in a Chinese restaurant, but that's what I've seen at grocery stores and whatnot. And they're a little bit thinner. They don't feel as greasy. They're easier to hold with chopsticks, and they're really good. I used to be a diehard lo mein fan. Like, I had to have the lo mein noodles, period. If they didn't have lo mein, I just didn't want to order it. I have apparently since changed from that. I made chow mein, a mix of chow mein, lo mein at home about a month ago. And I put in a mix of lo mein noodles and chow mein noodles, just because I wanted to mix it up. And I was disappointed by the lo mein noodles. I really, as I was eating it, I was like, I wish I had just done 2 of the chow mein noodles, 2 packs of it. Who knew? So, old dogs can learn new tricks. You can change foods you like. But I will always look fondly on one of my favorite Chinese restaurants. It was in downtown Provo, and I think it's closed because I haven't found it open in the last while. So I haven't been there in probably a few years. but they had the best chow mein. Lo mein. It was their house lo mein. It had shrimp in it, the barbecue pork strips, chicken, beef. It was so good. So that will always hold a special place in my heart. But I think I prefer chow mein now. And what I look for when I get a chow mein or make it or am eating it, because you can't really tell when you're getting it. You can only tell when you're eating it. But I feel like chow mein doesn't have to be super flavorful. I feel like it kind of falls into the white rice area. Like it's a side dish. It's kind of a palate cleanser. It's set to balance out the flavors of the other dishes. Like if you get orange chicken, you get General Tso's chicken, those are going to be extremely flavorful. And you don't need that in all of your dishes. It's good to have something to kind of balance it out, and I feel like lo mein and chow mein are really good for that. So I don't look for like a huge, overwhelmingly flavorful noodle when I get chow mein. I like there to be a little bit of chicken, but I am partial to vegetable lo mein. I also like a little bit of celery in it is good because it adds a little bit of a crunch to it. I like the sugar snap peas when they're cooked and added in. But really, I could just have the noodles and sauce and I'd be fine. Like, I'm not super picky about it. Chow mein is definitely one of my favorite dishes at a Chinese restaurant. If I'm getting Chinese food, I have to get chow mein. And like I've taken to mainly getting that. Like I'm in the process of deciding if I could just live off chow mein for the summer. Chow mein. It's a good Chinese food. If you haven't been to a Chinese restaurant recently, go get Chinese food. Pam gives you permission to. I won't pay for it though. I'm not that rich. But if I could, I would. But I can't. So you'd have to pay for yourself. So maybe save up and then go for like a special treat. But go get Chinese food. It's delicious. You probably won't regret it unless you don't like Chinese food. In the comments, let me know what your favorite Chinese dish is, what your favorite restaurant is, or if you don't like Chinese food, what your favorite ethnicity of food is, even if it's just American burgers, because I can get behind a good burger. I love burgers. Also, let me know if there's a topic you want me to talk about. We're going to have more of these Pam Talks coming up in the future. So if you have something you want to hear me kind of ramble on about for a little bit, let me know, shoot it in the comments, and we will make it happen. I hope all of you have a marvelous evening, morning, afternoon, midday, second breakfast, whatever. Hope it's wonderful. Thank you for tuning in to my Pam Talk. Have a marvelous day.